All right. Oh, good. It's on. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to start my timer so I don't run too long because they tell me I only have 3 hours here this evening. Thank you for laughing and not crying and running for the exits. That's always a good sign. Welcome. This is AI 202, Next Level Mastery for Java Developers. I wanted to go a little bit further than the AI 101, the getting started with. I do cover some basic concepts just kind of to quickly ramp into the other stuff. So, I mean, there are a few things I don't just want to like dive into the, I wouldn't say deep end, but dive into the little deeper water without any kind of context, because I feel like if you just kind of walk into the room about then you're like, what happened here? So I do give a little bit of an on-ramp, but I won't hopefully be spending too long before we get into some really fun, I think, fun stuff. My name is Mark Heckler. I'm a principal cloud advocate of Java and JVM languages at Microsoft. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, I will try really hard to leave some time at the end, but there's a lot of stuff that I want to cover, and I've given this talk a couple of different times, and each time I mix it up a little bit. So it's hard because there's other stuff I want to throw in, and then I have to remove some stuff, and it's always this delicate balance, and it's exhilarating and frustrating all at once. So if I run out of time, or if I don't run out of time and you're sitting there thinking, oh, I knew I had a question 5 minutes ago, ping me. I think of my best questions or best comments 5 minutes after I walk out of the room from hearing somebody else speak. Ask Thomas. I ping him afterward and go, dude, you got to help me, because I just didn't think to ask you when I had you right up there in front of the room. But if that's you too, please do reach out to me. I have email. I check it once in a while. But I also am on the socials in no particular order, but it's easier to write that way. I'm on X, I'm on Mastodon, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Threads, even though I didn't list that one because it's just Mark Heckler. That's the only aberration in my consistent formula. But I'm out there, so find me. I'm everywhere. So a little bit about me. I am an architect and developer by background, obviously an advocate. I have authored, contributed content and code to several books, co-authored a couple, and then finally wrote my own book. Again, that's both exhilarating and frustrating, so I highly recommend it and don't. I'm a Java champion, Kotlin developer expert, and a licensed instrument-rated pilot, thus the airplane, right? So, you got to make it yours. And, we all need more hobbies that take up lots of time and money, right? So why not? So here's the book. This actually, this came out about 3.5 years ago. So in tech terms, it's really old, but I did my best to make it as evergreen as possible on the concept. So I hit all the basic concepts, and those are very consistent. The version numbers have changed, obviously. Other than the chapter on Spring Security, please, 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 please do not follow that chapter. I will be giving a code refresh. Interestingly, O'Reilly, and they're awesome. They're an awesome publisher, but like a month after I published the book, their Git server went down. So then nobody could find the code, so I published it on my repo under my GitHub account. So I will be publishing updated code here very shortly. I did a refresh a long time ago, and now I'm doing it again. So check back. I may even tackle that Spring Security chapter again, but as it is, don't go there. The rest is, again, pretty good. I'm pretty proud of how I say we because my editor pounded on me a lot. But how I was able to kind of cover some concepts and I think make it very approachable and still throw in some really cool, clever tricks that a seasoned developer might not think of necessarily. So check it out. And by the way, the book has an X handle. I actually haven't created accounts and everything else for the book because the book is really, I don't know, it's a book, right? So there's just no reasoning with it. Anyway, so what's the plan for today? I'm very briefly, again, going to set the context. I like to talk about kind of the new shiny paradox, how to distinguish value from hype, and then get into the what do you want, what do you need, what can you use, and then code, right? Simple as that. So anybody here a fan of How I Met Your Mother? It's a little bit older series, but it's just a great series, well executed, well done. Has its own quirks and plot holes and everything, like every series. But Barney Stinson, I would always say, new is always better. And the newer the tools, the better. AI is new, so it must be better than everything that came before it. Well, for some things, yes, inarguably. For some things, no, but we're technologists. We're going to apply it to everything. So, we'll get to that. I also like this old, and this has been attributed to so many different people with so many different variations, but it basically sums up like this. To a man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And by the way, that obviously doesn't apply solely to men. We are not the only ones guilty of latching onto a tool and trying to apply it to everything. But I think it's a human failing, right? Technologists, we do that more than anything. And I always say that as technologists, we apply the new solution to literally everything. And I mean, stuff we should know better. We should know it has no business being applied to that. And that's terrible. But the good side of that, the flip side of that, is that by doing so and putting out everything that has no business being applied to, we very quickly can discard the stuff that we probably should have known it had no business being applied to. So right now we're sprinkling AI on everything, and it's just ridiculous. However, there are some really great applications for AI, and once we settle into those and ignore the other stuff, it's going to get really good. So why did that not advance? Technology. There we go. Okay, how do we distinguish? Well, I think I've kind of covered that. You know, again, it's kind of trial and error, apply things, see what happens, try to be discerning. You know, again, I said this morning, when we get a new tool, it doesn't mean that we can shut off our thinking. We are supposed to exercise our brain and apply it judiciously. Doesn't mean we can't experiment, and hopefully we will, but let's not go bananas, right? Okay, so again, what do you want? What do you need? What can you use? What are the use cases? What could this possibly be applied to? How might it fit? And then the proof of concept to maybe prove it out or exclude it. So I am hitting this kind of quickly because I want to leave as much time as I can to get into the actual code and seeing it work, because I feel like that's where the rubber meets the road. But again, at the end, if you say, hey, I kind of glossed over something quickly, please do save the questions to the end, because it's going to be hopefully pretty packed. But come back to it. Ping me afterward. So typically, applications for AI models boil down to kind of a few different things. The first is text to something else, right? Text to text, text to speech, text to image. And there are various different existing or potential use cases for that, some of which you're seeing put into good practice now, some of which are just kind of hinted at. But I think we're going to see a lot more of that as we go on. I was telling somebody the other day that if AI gives us nothing, absolutely nothing else from here to the end of time, but it allows me to summarize the meetings that I miss in Teams, I'm all in. Because, you know, like many companies, Microsoft loves their meetings. And sometimes you get stacked up with meetings and you can't hit them all. Sometimes they conflict. But it's really nice to have Copilot summarize a meeting that you had a conflict with and to be able to catch up on it very quickly. So there are some things that we're starting to see, and that's a great example of text-to-speech after you have a transcription. So it's kind of speech-to-text and then text back to speech if you listen to it, or maybe it's just speech-to-text. Maybe it's a one-way stop. But again, that exists. Then you get back to the something to text, which I kind of already spoiled part of that surprise there. So speech to text, transcription services, voice assistants, call centers, you're going to see using this more and more. You're going to see image to text. I have some examples of that and where I think it really pays off. I try to, in this particular session, take a concept, which is somewhat useful, and another concept, which is somewhat useful, and bring them together, which makes something very, in my opinion, very useful. Maybe it won't fit your use cases, but hopefully will get you thinking along those lines as well. And then something to something, and we're seeing that with image to video. And there's so much more that's kind of coming out, and I left this intentionally open-ended because so much of these things have been teased to us, but they're not fully baked, or they're only available via $200 a month subscriptions, or whatever the case may be. Those are going to be very commonplace very soon, where you can convert a lot of different things to a lot of different things. Slideshow creation. Has anybody tried that really quickly? I have. So far, not super impressed. But again, these are things that as time goes on, we'll either exclude them or they'll get much better, and then all of a sudden they'll be the preferred way of doing things, right? Anyway, video summarization, also, again, another great example, again, for Copilot in Teams. So, okay, so with that, let's see, we're doing okay on time, so less than 10 minutes, and now we can dive into the code, which is nice. All right. Whew, had me worried. The Mac was a little slow coming back. So I'm going to start here. This is a Spring initializer. Any Spring developers here? Okay, a lot, most of you. If you're not, that's fine. The initializer is just kind of a way to get started with choosing certain capabilities for your application and getting a running start with them. So if you're not a Spring Boot, it's Spring Boot particularly, but if you're not a Spring developer, Spring Boot and Spring AI is a very powerful combination that you can, again, get started with very quickly and start incorporating AI into your application. So there are some things that I have selected. Maven for our build tool. We've got Java for our language, of course. 3.4.3, the current version of Spring Boot. Tilt that back. I'm going to change the group name to the hecklers.com because otherwise it never works. Just kidding. Okay, JavaOne. Let's see, AI 202. Let's do that. And then I'm going to add a few dependencies here. So I'm going to bring in the Spring Web dependency, which allows us to build our APIs. I'm going to bring in the OpenAI dependency. And then I'm also going to bring in the Tika document reader. This is a very cool thing from Apache that allows you to read in, as it says, things like PDFs, docx, PowerPoint, HTML, EPUBs, a host of other things, which I can show you the site here momentarily and give you an idea of what all it can use to ingest those documents, read those documents, so you can place them, for instance, in a vector database. And then, of course, our vector database, right? So I'm using Quadrant, which I still need to have a chat with them. Okay, just between us, how do you say that? Yes. Yes, that drives me crazy. I know that I know we're all trying to be cute with names and like something that's trademarkable and patentable and but this is an assault on the English language. So anyway, so we're going to use those for our defaults. So our dependencies. So I'm going to generate the project, and I will drop this out on the desktop because I love to drop stuff on my desktop. And let's see. Come on, there we go. Open that up, and then I'm having some issues, but we can make this work. So I'm going to open this. Oh, it helps when you type things correctly. Computers, so literal, but not AIs. All right, I feel like Sesame Street. Can you say non-deterministic? That's one thing that is, so I have to ask before we get too far into this. So who here got into tech because it was very structured, because it was verifiable, because it was on, off, yes, no, 1, 0, because you could validate, you could prove, you could test? No? Really? See, I looked at it and I was like, geez, do I want to deal with people or do I want to deal with computers? They're so logical. I mean, they're so... And then they brought out AI, and it's like, well, that's out. So now we have squishy AI, like squishy people. So yeah, whatever. It's all good. All right, so I guess that's a me problem. All right, so I'm going to open that up. You all can see that? All right, good. If I go much larger, I can go larger, but the problem is when I do that, then I have like 4 characters wide on my screen, which is a little awkward. So I always like to check my POM just to verify the dependencies that I selected. Again, trust but verify. They're there. So we have Spring Boot Starter Web, we have OpenAI, we have Quadrant, and Tika document reader. So we're all good there. I'm going to next open up my application.properties. For those of you unfamiliar, this is where you kind of put your properties, your sensible defaults for things that you want to configure or need to configure. You can also externalize those, which I have done for my keys and things like that. That's why I will be running this not in the IDE, but actually from the command line. But we will be coming back and touching on this as well momentarily. So I'm going to next go to our main application class, and then let's go ahead and create another class. And I'm going to just call this our JavaOne. We'll call it our Java controller. Just keep it nice and short. No reason for 3-page names. All right. So I'm going to make a REST controller here. And then I'm going to just define a few variables and constants and things of that nature. So private, static, string, let's see, final, string, dir, in. Oh, this is, wow, this is not playing along well at all. See, this is what happens when you start to depend on that AI. I will say this, as a co-pilot, if you think of this, I like to think of it kind of as a junior developer or even an intern. There are some really, and by the way, if you're a junior developer or an intern, that is not an insult, because when you come into things with fresh eyes, you see things that those of us who get a little grizzled at times miss, right? But then you come up with other things and you're like, no, that won't work. Believe me, I have the scars to prove that. So it's a give and take, right? And this is what a coding assistant will do for you. It's give and take. So sometimes this works really well, and sometimes not so much. So anyway, I'm going to, I guess, just start off with this. And boy, this is just not, I don't know why it's suggesting this weird stuff. Anyway, all right. So let's do this. I'll just start coding and see if it comes back and finds me. So I'm going to create a chat client here, and then I also want to create a speech model, and we'll call that speech model, cleverly enough. And then I also want to have an image model, and we'll see how much I can get to. Some of this I may just have to copy pasta in because I'm certain we're going to run out of time, but I want to set us up here for some good stuff. So vector store, and that's fine. And then we'll do this. Now this is close, right? Because with Spring AI or Spring Boot, it doesn't actually inject a chat client. It creates a chat client bean, or excuse me, a chat client builder bean, but it allows you to configure it. And I'm not going to do that just yet. There's going to be nothing special yet. But for now, I'm just going to say builder.build, and it will build that client. However, wait for it. This is going to be legend. Yeah, okay, we'll leave it there. Just leave you hanging. Okay, now I do want to come back up here. Let's see, I want to do a logger. Okay, that's fine. I just like this dot get class. And again, it offered that up. It was fine. It was perfectly reasonable. I just have a little different way of doing things, right? So that's not a terrible thing. And then I'm going to see private, final, static, string, dir, n. Wow, it's just really hating on me today. That's fine. So that's fine. Let's see. So slash, let me see if I can remember this. Users, mark Heckler, files, in. All right, we'll see if this suffices. If not, we'll get errors and we'll fix them. It's not a big deal. Oh, that's the first thing that would have had a problem. Okay, so we're off to the races. So let's just start to build an API. So I'm going to start here, public string chat. Oh, that's just terrible. We can do better, right? So I'm just going to call this get string, and I'm going to have a request parameter. I'm going to provide a default value here of what is the meaning of life. And I'm going to close that out so we get a little more screen real estate. Okay. Now, I don't like question, I like message, because I like to think of these as messages. If you're not familiar with an LLM, typically you have a user message, which is what do you want. A system message is how do you want it. And then there are some other things, but these, we're going to focus on the system and user message here today. So let's do this. Let's do a return client.prompt.user, and we'll just pass in the message there. We'll call that, and then we'll return the content, if I can type. All right, so again, we're short on time, so I'm just going to copy paste. Shh, good thing this isn't being recorded, right? Okay, so we'll do a get response, and in this case, we'll return a chat response. And this looks pretty close. We just need to do a chat response. So it's all the same, right? Have I missed anything? Yes, I have. So I need to provide a separate endpoint there, response. Now, there are three ways that you can do this in Spring AI. You can return a string, as you've seen. You can return a chat response, which has a little more information in it. Well, let's just run that first. Let's start there, right? So maven w spring boot run. Oh dear. Okay. So, well, it helps if you change into the. Why you have to do me this way here? Let's see. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to actually expand that a little bit and bring that up, and then let's, oh, I need to do that too. Let's see, make that a little bit larger where we can see it. It's running, so I must not have forgotten anything. Way to tempt fate. Okay, so I'm just going to, and I'm using HTTPy instead of curl because HTTPy is curl for humans, right? So it again, like Spring, it uses sensible defaults. If you don't provide a host name, it says, well, you must want localhost. If you don't provide a port, it thinks you must want 80. Well, in this case, we want 8080. I'm not providing any parameters because I provided a request parameter default value for anything that comes in, so I don't have to specify that. So I'm just asking, what's the meaning of life? Get back a pretty nice response as a string, right? The meaning of life is a question that has intrigued philosophers, theologians, scientists, and thinkers for centuries, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if I ask the same question / response, right, it will come back with a formatted response as a chat response. Now, this is quite lengthy. I mean, it's not terrible because, again, there's one response and it's fairly condensed. But there's some interesting things here that we might want to do something with, or at least track. Tokens. And I kind of didn't really hit this earlier because I assume at a 202 level class maybe that we've talked about or heard about tokens, but tokens roughly equate to a word. Now, that's not 100%. It's about a 75%, if you will. So you get about 25% more tokens than you do words. So if you have 1,000 words, that converts to about 1,250, 1,300 tokens, roughly. So it's good. Why do you care about your tokens? Because tokens equals money. The more tokens you pass and get back, the more money you pay. Now, it's not crazy, right? But it could get crazy if you weren't paying attention. We don't want that. So we see here that we have some tokens. We provided prompt tokens of 14. We have completion tokens, generation tokens of 119, a total of 133. Not bad, right? Now, you can also, with Spring AI, do something like this. So I'm going to just call this entity, spelling and stuff. And yeah, we'll just copy that. That's fine. And I'll return my response. Yeah, that's fine. Entity my response.class, which of course is telling me that, we need one of those. Well, that's fine. I'll just meatball it here. Record my response. And what do we want in here? So we want a string, maybe generation tokens. Let's see. Yeah, that works. And then string prompt tokens, and then total tokens, right? Yeah, total tokens. And then maybe we want the response itself, the text. Why not? Okay, so we're good there. And let's see. Oh, yes, of course. All right, so now if we really want to get concise, let me go back and restart this. Let's see, entity, right? So it's starting up, the application's starting. Let's go ahead and hit that endpoint. So now we have something it's all kind of automatically handled for you. So that's really nice, it's very useful. Again, it's not a higher level concept, but it's something that you will probably find yourself using a little more expansive than that, but anyway. 42. Yes. The meaning of life. Oh, gosh, yeah. And if I ran it again, it probably wouldn't come back with that. So we won't run it again, right? Everybody knows the...
You got to save this.
Okay, yes. All right, so screen capture. There we go. As you wish. Oh, yes. Yeah, this must be documented. So if you haven't read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there was a computer called Deep Thought. Deep Thought? Yes, Deep Thought. And this computer, this great giant planet-sized computer was asked, what is the answer to the question of life? And for literally centuries calculated and computed on this. So it was the first AI, right? And it came back and all the planet's people came together and they approached Deep Thought and they said, oh, great Deep Thought, what is the answer to the question of life, the meaning of life? And Deep Thought responded, 42. So then they had to wait again, that many more eons to ask, well, what was the question? So anyway, this is great. This is great stuff, folks. Anyway, okay, so we've covered kind of the foundational stuff. We've gotten up to speed with our string, our response, our entity. So now, what else do we want to do? So I have a little cheat sheet because I always hate when I leave stuff out and then I think, that was great, except I forgot to cover that. So let me make sure I go to the next thing. RAG, okay? Retrieval Augmented Generation. Anybody heard that? That's one of the first buzzwords that came out. So all RAG does, well, I'll just start typing here. That way I can type and talk. So all RAG does, come on. No, not rage. Maybe it is. What is the deal? I feel like my computer's turning against me. Oh no, the machines are becoming alive. All right, so I like to call this get response from our data, right? Because that's really what you're doing is you're querying your data. Now, that's a gross oversimplification. What a vector data store does is it takes all kinds of input documents, documentation, whatever, and calculates vectors. So it basically assigns values to things so you can, boy, this is a gross oversimplification, but if you search for something, it finds those similarities, similarity search. So if you have an animal database and you say, well, what's close to a house cat? Well, you'd probably get a house dog, right? Because 4 legs, lives inside, so on and so forth. But depending on how you structure that query, you may be asking what's close to a house cat by way of biology, right? Then you might find tigers and lions and maybe not bears, but you might find predatory animals who live in the wild. They're much bigger. They're not anything like a house cat, but they are. They're very similar in different ways. So that allows you to very quickly turn the AI loose. I always hate to say LLM because LLM means large language model, but we're starting to see usages of small language models, and we're going to see other constructs. So I always generally say AI, and I know that sounds kind of vague and silly, but I think there is utility in being vague on that point because there are going to be other particular constructs that we'll use in that same way. Right now it's LLM largely, but welcome to the future. So we're going to get a response from our data. We have the default value, what is the meaning of life. I'm going to change that, and I'm going to change that to air speeds, and let me explain why. Because when I was looking around for a domain, something that I could use to just populate the heck out of a data store, I'm a pilot, right? So anytime you deal with a government agency, the government loves its documentation. So there are all kinds of manuals. I have a pilot's operating handbook for my aircraft that I fly. I also have a gazillion, and that's a real number, a gazillion different documents from the FAA, like the FAA FAR AIM, which is the Federal Aviation Regulations Airman's Instruction Manual. I have instrument procedures handbook. I have weather stuff I have to worry about. And all of these have several hundred-page handbooks that you have to be aware of and periodically tested on. And it's just a hoot. It's a lot of fun. But I thought, gosh, I can't think of a better domain to put all this stuff in a vector database so I can get quick answers out of this stuff, because it's kind of hard to manage, as you might imagine. So what I'm going to do is I put a default value of airspeeds in there because it's very general, very generic, because we're not going to use that. But if I did forget to add a parameter, then at least we have something. So what I want to do, though, is use the advisors capability. And I'm going to just provide a new question answer advisor and use our vector store as its input, so it can find things based on searching our vector store, right? And again, I've pre-populated our vector store with all these goodies. And I just saw that I missed this. Okay, front row, Henri, Freddie, Thomas, I'm counting on you, if I typo, to catch my typos. So no pressure, right? This is how I get involvement here. So. And this is your reward for sitting in the front row. And anybody with good eyes in the second row, you're also on the hook. So don't feel like, whew, missed it by one, off by one error. Okay, or benefit. All right, so I'm going to, let's see, I'll do a /rag. List the critical airspeeds and their V designations for the Piper Warrior. Now, before I do that, I want to do this non-specifically. I want to just ask the LLM, what are the key airspeeds, the critical airspeeds and their V, their velocity designations for the Piper Warrior? That's what I fly. And that's very useful to know, because not knowing that can get you killed. No pressure. So if I ask the LLM, the AI, just generally, without querying my data with my owner's handbook in that, it will give me some good information, right? Piper Warrior, popular single-engine light aircraft has several critical airspeeds. And then it comes into like VS0, S1, V sub R. And all of these say this is the stall speed with landing flaps deployed. For the Piper Warrior, it is approximately 44 knots. It is approximately 50 knots. I can tell you with certainty there is no approximately about it, except that there are several models of Piper Warrior. And when you ask generally the LLM, the AI, it's like, well, it's kind of in this ballpark, but I can't be specific because I don't know which one you're talking about specifically. However, we have that pre-populated in our data, right? So let's just go here and use our RAG endpoint, which has the question answer advisor, which points to our vector store, where I have my pilot's operating handbook in there. And now there's no somewhere around about it. It tells me exactly that it's 44 knots indicated airspeed in the landing configuration with flaps fully extended. It is exactly 50 knots indicated airspeed if you have flaps retracted, et cetera. So this is exactly what you need, what your life literally depends on. So by involving your documents, by ingesting your documents into a vector store, that gives your AI a lot more intelligence on the context that you need, right? Okay, so let's go on to the next step. The next step, let's see. I think I actually kind of got a little out of order here. So, but I'm just going to keep driving, right? Because we're timed. All right, so the next thing I want to do is not speech. I'm going to show a template. Speech is cool, and we'll get to that. But I want to show you the things about template. Now, I did the template example before, and it's kind of a cute, fun example, but let me take it up a notch. I'll start with the cute, fun example. It's always fun to start there, right? Now, this is just terrible. This is our intern going awry. So I don't want this. What I want is not to have a default value. I want a required parameter here. We'll call this type. And then I also want another request parameter. We'll call this topic, right? And we will want, let's see, let's do user. So u.text, oh geez, u.text, let's see, create a type about topic. That's not bad. And then let's provide a parameter here. Wow, it is just not throwing me a bone at all. Okay, type, parameter, topic, just, and that's kind of what I was leveraging or expecting to leverage to get through things faster to cover more material. So this is really cramping my style here. That's terrible. All right, so you can also do a params and provide a map of parameters. This is just as clean, I think, as it gets. So I'm going to do this, and actually I want to say limit to 1,000 words, because that way it doesn't get overly verbose. So this looks pretty good. Now, I'm going to go ahead and restart this. Now, what I have done in the past, which again is kind of fun, so let's see, so /template. So yeah, let's do a haiku on peanut butter and jelly. That sounds fun. So this is kind of fun, right? You can tell it, hey, do something about something. And a template allows you to help guide the creation of a prompt and a response. However, you can get a lot more creative with that. Something like template. So do a market analysis on upscale food delivery. Now again, we've told it no more than 1,000 words, but we're pointing it in an entirely different direction here, still using templates, right? So it's chugging away. And this is where it starts to get really useful and interesting, other than just kind of fun, right? So we start off with, here's the market analysis. In recent years, the food delivery industry has experienced unprecedented growth, et cetera. Here's the market overview. Here are the growth drivers that have been identified. Here are market challenges, key players, future prospects. Conclusion, occupies a unique position at the intersection of luxury, dining, and convenience. So I'm sure, if you're anything like me, you start looking at this thinking, oh, I could put this to use in about 3 different places in my current systems that I'm working on. So that's, I think, pretty exciting stuff for something that is still just text to text, right? Okay, now, a lot of times what people ask is, that's great, but so far we've seen things that are basically one-on-one. So how do we create an application that scales? So if you and you and you and you and you and me, we're all using an application, how does it keep things separate? I mean, that's kind of important for privacy, but it's also important to keep context and maintain that context. Well, there's a way to do that, and that comes back up to our, wait for it, this is going to be legend, right? So I'm going to, oh boy, that is just terrible, So I have to find a better intern. So let's do a default advisors. So I'm going to do a message chat memory advisor, and I'm going to bring this down because otherwise it just gets too stretched out. So new in memory chat memory. Now you can create this to where it points to a vector store, which is really nice, but again, that lasts forever. And of course, it's a potential call depending on how you set it up. But you can also just do in memory. In memory, of course, when the application shuts down, that goes away. So again, as with all things, trade-offs. So let's see. So with this, I'm going to add a, let's see, hold on. There we go. Oh, default. Nope. Boy, I'm getting no help whatsoever. So thanks, GitHub Copilot. I'm going to have to double check my cheat sheets here. So yeah, that's what I thought. It's just for some reason it's not picking it up. So that's just too disappointing. So default, and this is just the conversation ID. So now let's see. There we go. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Oh, yes. That was a good catch. So let's see.
That's why it refused to help you.
And that's, yeah, I guess so. It has standards, and I'm not meeting them. Okay, so, all right. So I do want to say that you can simply provide this with no additional parameters. I provide a default conversation ID, but it creates just a different default conversation ID. And it creates a chat window, history window size of 100. Now, why is that important? Because what we're doing here is stuffing the prompt. When we send a request, a prompt, we get back a response, right? A chat response. And we store that. And then we feed that the next question we ask, the next prompt. So we're stuffing the prompt, which is great. It provides that context. But it also means there are more tokens. And each time it's more and more and more. And as you might imagine, a window of 100 where it's buffering and sending more and more and more can lead to some real issues. So I like to limit that, and I would suggest you determine where that sweet spot is. For the purposes of our demo, 10 is more than sufficient, and that's fine. But of course, we forgot to dairy it. Okay, so legendary. All right, so now we have a default advisor. You can set all kinds of default advisors. You can set a question and answer advisor and everything up here. I just, for the purposes of our demo, I like to keep things separate because I like to minimize my token counts, as you will see here momentarily again. But what I wanted to do is have that so that then I can come down and do a get mapping, and we'll make this conversation, and we'll see if it helps me at all. What is the meaning of life? It's fine. Okay, and then we'll want advisors, and we'll provide our advisory spec. Come on. Boy, that is just really hating on me, so that's fine. We'll just do this again the hard way. So add, nope, dot, params, right? Yes. And that would be the chat memory advisor. I'm going based on memory here. Hopefully this will not let us down. Oh, yes, I need to actually add that up here, right? So add request parameter, not string topic. We actually have a conv ID, and I want this to be a default value. Default value equals, we'll just say default. That's what I put it up earlier, so it doesn't really matter. And then I will just drop that into there. And something is not happy with, oh.
You have to have a hash map there?
No, you shouldn't. Again, boy, this is, I get so, and this is one of the hazards of using a Copilot all the time, is you kind of get into that, lulled into the, you've got your pairing partner there. OAS.param. Params, yes. Oh, typos get me every time. Look at that. Oh, that's much happier. Okay, so we don't want conversation. Where did that come from? No idea. So content, And let's see. Yeah, that's what we want. So we will leave it at that. Let's go ahead and restart this. Now, while that's coming up, I want to do a /conversation. And actually, nope, I want to kill that and just do a forward. So this is I find this is actually a pretty good way to show that this actually works. Because again, you can always assume it does, and it sometimes will turn into a bad assumption. So I just asked, my prompt was, tell me all about the different vans that Ford Motor Company has made. So Ford Transit Connect. Clearly Ford has a problem with naming. Ford E-Series, once again, naming problem. That just sounds boring. Clubwagon, Aerostar, Windstar, Freestar. Again, we have problems with naming. But anyway, so we've got a variety of different vans. Now, if I also want to ask about Piper aircraft. So what are all the models of made by Piper aircraft? And notice I'm providing a conversation ID here, and I'm just giving it anything, right? XYZ123 in this case. Now, typically what you do is have some kind of a token, so like a particular, something that's tied to that particular session or that particular person. I'm cheating because it's easy for a demo, but obviously there would be something that would uniquely identify this particular set of interactions with this particular, let's say, customer service rep or end user. So we see that Piper has made a lot of different aircraft, and that's great. But the next thing I want to do is tell me about the Aerostar. So I'm just going to send this without a conversation ID, so we know that it will use default as the default conversation ID. So it should track with our earlier question about Ford vans, right? So let's hope that happens. Yes, so here, life is good. The Ford Aerostar was a minivan produced by Ford from 87 to 90, or 85 to 97, I guess. So now if I do the same thing, but I ask it with the conversation ID of XYZ123, we had just been a separate person interacting with the LLM asking about Piper aircraft, right? So please tell me more about the Aerostar would hopefully result in that conversation continuing, talking about Piper aircraft, and sure enough, it does. So we come back with the Piper PA-60 Aerostar as a distinctive aircraft, et cetera, and so on. Now, what happens if you just ask something in an entirely new session? So like this, I will call this the third convo, so our third conversation. Now we're just asking the LLM, there's no history, there's no context, right? And it's just saying, look, it could refer to a number of different things. Maybe it's the Ford Aerostar, maybe it's the Piper Aerostar, maybe it's the International Aerostar Company. So it gives you it demonstrates that you do have a way of keeping those completely separate across different conversations. So I am going to now remove this and put this back because, again, I don't want to keep stuffing the prompt as we go along. So that way we'll keep our token counts down, right? All right. Now, what is next? And, oh, our time is short, so we are going to be going crazy here. So,
Nobody has booked the room.
what's that?
Nobody has booked the room, I say.
Oh, I like the way you think. Okay, so let's do this. Let's see, was speech next? Translate was next. All right, translate. I don't think I have anything for that one. I don't. I'll just code it. It's fine. I don't think I have any live templates set up. So, it would have been nice. What is the meaning of life? That's probably good. We don't need a target language. We just need a language. I love how it's very specific about that, even though the source language is always English when I'm typing it. So I mean, I'm fairly predictable on that. And then we have a request parameter. Default value is Spanish. Well, that would be my second choice, yes. So the default value in this case will be false because what I want to do is have the option, Boolean, to save. Wow, it's really hung up on those languages, isn't it? Oof. All right. So in this case, I'm going to create a system message. No, not advisors, not system. And you respond in, oh, that is just terrible. The language of, yeah, that'll work, I guess. That's just, actually, that'll be s.text, and then Actually, yeah, I just, I'm just,
Forget about English.
English is hard, right? I mean, this is just,
Forward, we have to.
yeah, param. All right, now this is just, the wheels are coming off here. So, dot system, s.text, you respond in the language. That works. Okay, so param. Yes, that looks good. Oh, yes, it did. Okay, well, that's fine, I guess. Do not disturb is on. Well, shoot, why did that come on? Okay, so we have this user message call, and actually we don't have time. All right, I'm going to make an executive decision, which just kills me, but I'm going to have to, because we are over time, so I'm going to open up. There we go. I'll just open it up and do it here. It's fine. Yeah, so I was right there, too. So what is the meaning of life? English, false. Okay. So we had this. Content, I guess. Okay. We will just roll forward. So if we want to save this, we'll convert it to speech and save it to a file, right? This gets a little trickier because I was never going to have time to live code all of this stuff, but what I wanted to do is at least get the starting point and then the jump off point. Sadly, time's up. So I do a convert to speech. I want to save this down to a file. We will get to that here momentarily. There's also a way that you can use what I call convert doc to audio or doc audio, where you can point it to any, using Tika Document Reader, point it to any online or file system-based PDF, EPUB, doc, PowerPoint, and it will go ahead and convert that to audio for you as well. Now, I'm going to just run this. Let's see. And let's see if I can remember where this is. So, dev session AI 202. Maven, W, Spring, boot, run. And we'll see if we can do some translations here. All right. Translate. All right, so if you provide, well, I won't do the save. I'll just go here. So if I just ask, what is the meaning of life? And I'm specifying nothing for a language, it will respond in English. I'm not telling it to save it, so it'll just respond in print. So we see that works, right? If we want to now say language equals, give me a language, anyone? French. Oui. Okay, now let's say that we want to save that, right? So let's do a save equals true. And now, let me see if I can go over here. Oh, I only have two. Oh, there we go. All right, so ls-lart, French, and that is now, right? So this is actually kind of cool. Actually, I forgot I did have this for sound. I'll turn up my sound, though, and we'll be fine. Oh, awesome. It's the little stuff.
La question du sens de la vie est un sujet complexe qui a été exploré par de nombreuses traditions philosophiques, religieuses et culturelles. Pour certains, le sens de la vie peut être trouvé dans la recherche du bonheur personnel.
Yes, and it's not half bad. I mean, there are little things you can identify if you know the language and different languages, but I've run through everything from Arabic to French to Spanish to Tagalog and it's very credible, right? You can also provide different voices, and I sadly don't have time to get into that because I want to go back and show you a couple other things really quickly. The audio, taking things to audio from different publications, very useful. I actually was kicking myself because I did that like 2 weeks before Google made the big announcement, and I was just showing it to people. It's like, isn't this cool? And they're like, hey, we can do podcasts. I'm like, missed my opportunity again. Anyway, so where I was mentioning earlier about combining a couple of different concepts. So here I have something where I can point to an image and ask what is in this image. So let's see, we're still running, right? We're still running. All right, so let's do a /mm. And I don't want to get ahead of myself. So if I just do this and do the test image, right, we'll see what's in the test image. And since I know where that is, let's see, dir in. Yeah, the image shows a dog standing on the seat of a tricycle with its front paws on the handlebars. Does it really? Let's find out. So localhost, let's see. Yeah, I'll probably have to do the file system, won't I?
Just type open.
File. What is it? Sorry?
Open.
Oh, good point. Good point. So let's see. Open test. Do I not have it there? Oh, open in test image.jpg. There we go. Yeah, this is definitely good stuff right there. So it does a pretty credible job of analyzing it. Now, if we want to do something a little bit more robust than that, I combine the ability to look at an image and interpret it. So I'm feeding it an example, a photo of wake turbulence. Wake turbulence is something that off the wingtips, end of the wingtips of an airplane, if you fly too close behind it, especially if it's a larger aircraft, it can flip your plane, which leads to a very bad day and probably your last. And this can apply to very big aircraft as well. This was identified back, I think, in the 1970s or 80s when a 737 went behind a 747 and flipped. And this is stuff you don't hear about, but it can happen, which is good that we're very aware of this, so you maintain space and everything's fine. But what I did is I fed this to it, and I also pointed it to my vector store, which has all the aviation documents in it, and it says this illustrates the concept of wake turbulence. I asked it, what does this imply from safety perspective? Well, separation distance, flight path awareness, approach and landing caution, training and awareness. So it provides that context, one, interpreting what the image is, and two, giving you recommendations based on what you have as far as documents that you can reference. So anyway, I also have some other stuff, how to generate images and things like that, but I feel like those are the really key points that provide you, I feel like, outsized value. So let's see if I can get this started. Yes, all right. So with that, wow, there's a delay there. With that, here is the repo. I will be updating this with a couple other things that I just haven't had a chance to put in there, but it is mostly current on the AI 202. The RAG I actually have changed over from Chroma to Quadrant, whatever your preference is. So I will be pushing that probably in the next day or two. So I would ask that you star them, watch them, and then that way you're notified when those changes hit so you can go ahead and update. The book has there its account, my account there. Sad that we didn't get a chance for Q&A, but again, if you're like me, you think of the best stuff afterward anyway, please don't hesitate to reach out to me by email or better yet on the socials. If you also want to find a couple of nice free resources, we just pushed out some updated Java learning materials. And then there's another screen after that, once everybody has that one captured. I wrote a ref card, DZone ref card a couple of months ago about Java containerization and deployment, which Henri, you and I were talking about. I did a talk on this a couple of weeks ago in Montreal, and it's talking about how to build and optimize your containers for Java and Spring Boot applications. So it's free, it's out there. I think you have to, there are other things on the page, ignore those, just the ref card. But anyway, yeah, check it out. There are some free resources out there, and yeah, take advantage of those. That's why they're there. So with that, thanks so much, and see you around.
Thank you.